Hi, welcome back to the channel. This is the third video in this series of videos I will be putting out. It's kind of again a recap. It's to, as I said in the previous two videos, it will be going along the journey as the process of the modelling and sending out to agencies. In this video I'll be covering what happened with the agency. I will say it was positive, but I'll come to that in a short while. Secondly, I want to acknowledge that I've had some views, only 2, but better than nothing. Only 2 views, but still better than nothing. And thank you to those people who have watched. So, because I'll be honest, I thought it'd be quite a while before I got any views or any kind of recognition or feedback. But second video, 2 views, because I know this topic that I'm aiming it at is actually quite, it's not, I'm not saying that there isn't people who are interested, but it isn't particularly broad in in the sense of many people would be interested. But if as long as some people are, just one or two, and that's why two views is absolutely fine. It's better than nothing. And it happened a bit sooner than I expected. I expected it to be much further down the line before anyone started to actually watch or have an interest. But so I was pleasantly surprised, and thank you to those people who watched the video, because it really does make a difference, because then it does encourage you to carry on, because when you start anything, and it all ties in with the modelling experience as well, when you start anything, what encourages you to carry on is when you think, oh, this could actually go somewhere, when you feel it isn't going to go anywhere, or you have those little bits of self-doubt, that's when it can kind of make or break the situation. So it is important to be positive about it and think, okay, let's carry on with this. And as I've said in the last 2 videos, it is aimed at people who are either in modelling or are in the same position I am, or people who aren't doing modelling yet but are interested in doing it. And what I mean by it, so why that I think is important is because, for example, the due process that you have to go through when you're doing modelling, the waiting process, which I wasn't really prepared for. But I was in a way, but when it happened the first time with the first agency, it did kind of throw me. I was like, oh, it wasn't very fun. Just sitting and not waiting for an answer, and that was the first one, and it does get easier with time. It's the same with the YouTube videos. The more you do, the easier it gets, because the more you get used to it. But the first time, it can really, it can affect your opinion on what you're doing. You can be all up for something, and then that happens, and you can not put you off, but you can get disheartened. And so these videos hopefully will be for people who might not be doing modelling yet, but if they are interested in modelling and want to do modelling, hopefully these videos will be informative and hopefully constructive to what they're going into. I mean, I would advise anybody who is interested in doing it to do it. Don't think about it too much. If you are interested in modelling and you want to do it, do it. For example, when I first sent off my picture in April, it was like a day it took me a day to make my mind up. I think if I'd have thought about it longer, I'd have may have taught myself into not doing it. So I do think it's important that you, if you are interested in doing it, just send off a picture. Because the longer you wait, not with anything, you know, if you're going into YouTube, modelling, whatever you're doing, it's better just to do it and then worry about it. Sounds a bit irresponsible, but do it and then worry about it later on, because I do think if you just, I'll do it tomorrow, then you might not do it. And so these videos, again, are to appeal to models who are doing modelling, people who are in my position, and people who, for whatever reason, might not be doing it yet, but are interested in doing it. And my biggest advice to those people is, if you are interested in doing it, just go for it. But also, the main focus of this video is to talk about the waiting process that people have to go through when they send out to agencies, which can be not daunting, but can be very time consuming, as it was for me with the first agency. This second one, things look a bit more on the ups, but the first one was, you know, it did make me think a bit about what I was getting into. Because when you're not getting any response, and you're in like this limbo stage of not knowing where it can lead, that's when you can start thinking, you know, that's when the self-doubt comes in, and which everybody goes through in different parts, you know, in different situations. You know, it is quite normal to have those thoughts and to go through that. And I was aware of that, but it doesn't make it any easier when you're going through it. And like I said, I was that happy when I got a response from the first agency that it didn't particularly matter that it was a negative response. I was just so happy I got a response that the fact that it was negative was neither, you know, it was kind of neither here or there. It was just like, well, at least I know now I can move on to something else. And of course, this was before I'd considered doing YouTubing, because that came with the second agency that I sent out to. They wanted YouTube videos, and so that was something completely different. But with the first agency, I thought, okay, you know, just take the knockback, take the rejection, and move on. And of course, that's hard in itself for everyone, really, to take a form of rejection. You know, I think, you know, everyone, when they're knocked back or rejected from something, can, you know, that can, if you let it can really bring you down. I didn't. I just thought, okay, and like I say, I was that happy that I just got a response that I wasn't really that concerned that it was negative, and I just moved on to the next one. But that is something that, if you are interested in modelling, you will go through, and I don't think it's kind of highlighted enough that when you're starting anything, like in that, well, I suppose I say just in the modelling example, but it's just the same as sending out for a job. You know, of course, it's a bit more personal with modelling, because it's more about how you look than what your credentials are. So it is slightly more personal than just what your credentials are in terms of an ordinary job. Whereas with this, it's more about, you know, do you fit a certain arc what a particular agency is looking for, and that's why I tell you don't. That's the best thing of it. That's where you don't take it personally, because it's not necessarily, not saying you're not good enough. You're not particularly what they're looking for what they want, and that's how you overcome it. So if anyone's watching this who is doing modelling or has been knocked back, you might be in the same situation I am. You may have just sent out to an agency, it might be your first one, and you've just been knocked back. And like I said, the best is to not take it personally and just move on to the next agency and keep putting yourself out there. That's all you can do. It's no good just sitting and getting down and feeling low about it, because it's not personal. They're not saying that you're wrong. It's just you don't fit what they want for that particular agency, and that's the best way, I think, to get through it. But nevertheless, it doesn't make it any easier when it happens, but it is something that if you are interested in modelling, that you will have to go through. The writing process, and you probably will come up against some form of rejection at some time. And I'm not trying to put anyone off doing this. It is exciting when you're starting these things. But these are things to think about if you are interested in doing it. That these things are gonna, unless you're very lucky, of course, and great for you if you get accepted on your first agency. That could happen. It might not be the case for everybody that you might get rejected. I don't know. But I'd say 90% chance most people will experience some form of knockback or rejection when they're sending it to agencies, and you can't let it deter you from carrying on. It's the same if you're starting a YouTube channel. You might not get views, you might only get 2 views in my case, or you might get 1, but you keep doing it, you keep showing up and you keep putting out videos just because you enjoy doing it. It's not just about what the validation you might get. And that's the thing. If you are interested in modelling and going into modelling, if you're not good with criticism, not direct criticism in the way that someone's going to say something to you, like disrespectfully, but in the sense that if you are knocked back and you take it personally, you take it as a form of criticism, if you're going to let that deter you, it's going to be a very hard process. It's going to be a very hard hurdle to get over. When you have to realise it is kind of part and parcel with the business, you are going to come up against this. And most people do. That's the thing. That's what you have to realise. It's not only you who's going to go through that. Most people do. So it's not something to. You shouldn't let it deter you. You should just carry on, keep doing it, keep putting yourself out there, and there is a fun there is an element of fun to that in itself. The putting yourself out there part of it, because you're doing that, and it is good for you when you're putting yourself out there. And like I say, it's best just not to think about it too much. Just do it, and then worry about it afterwards. Because what I've found many people is that the more they think about doing something, and they don't do it because they're scared of being, of failing. Which in this instance with this agency that I've recently heard from, things are looking okay. So I'll come to that now about what happened with this agency. They contacted me on Wednesday, so it was 2 weeks from the last time I heard from them, and they said they really liked the pictures. Because of the time of year being December and the new year just around the corner, their books are full at the moment. But would it be okay for me to apply again in 2 months. So that is a semi-success, and I'll talk a bit more about that. It's a kind of semi-success because you haven't had the door slammed in your face, which is more, which is kind of what happened with the first agency. You've basically been told they're full up. Can you hear back from them could you apply for them in 2 months when they have got more space to take on new people? So I've got that kind of as a bit of an insurance that I can send out to that one. I will still be sending out to other agencies, and that's another thing that's important. You send out to as many as you can. Send out to at least 3 at a time. There's 2 I'm going to be sending out for on Monday. So send out to as many as you can, because it does help your chances. Again, like most people know, it's the same as when you're applying for normal jobs. Send out to as many as you can, because it helps. It helps the odds and it helps chances. So that's what you should do. Apply that to the modelling. It's the same kind of situation. Send it to as many as you can because it helps your chances, and that's what I'll be doing. So I'll be sending it to 2 on Monday. And so again, it's kind of, it's still in that strange sphere of, well, is it going to happen? Isn't it? But it looks positive, and you can always apply. Or I will be applying if I'm not successful with the other ones. I will be applying for that one in 2 months' time. So it'll be the middle of February. I'll be applying for that agency if I'm not successful with anyone. And that's what I mean. It's like a lucky dip kind of thing. You can be going anywhere. You could be lucky with the next one. You might not, but it is something that you have to take into account when you're doing this. And hopefully, if people are interested in doing it, just do it. Just go for it. Just send out to an agency, and hopefully things will work out. Things will be on the uppers, and they'll work out. But I think the main thing that holds people back is the fear of failing, the fear of it not working. And like I say, it can be an uncomfortable process to go through, where you are sitting waiting to hear back. It's like with this, for example, with this second agency, the one that got back to me on Wednesday. At least it could be going somewhere. At least you know that is an opportunity that you've got, and not just sitting waiting nothing. And then, like I say, a knockback isn't the worst thing. It's the waiting process, the due process that you have to go through can be quite uncomfortable. And particularly the first time. I think the first time you do it, the first time you send it to an agency, it can be a bit daunting. But the more you do it, the easier it gets. And it's the main, I suppose the main takeaway from this video is, if you are doing this or you're going through this process, you may be watching this, you may have been knocked back a few times by agencies, you may still be applying. I think the main point of this, the most pertinent point, is that it's best that you've got to keep positive with it, and you've got as long as you've got faith in yourself, and as long as you're confident in yourself, it shouldn't really mar you. It shouldn't really affect you. You should just be able to carry on and be positive about it, and acknowledge that you it's actually really exciting what you're doing. There'll be aspects, of course, about it that you don't like, but overall, it's a very exciting experience. And if you are in the same situation I am, and you're applying and you haven't been accepted yet, or it could be the same situation. It could be the identical situation of you may have applied to an agency, they may have got back to you and said they like what you're doing, but the timing is a bit off. So could you just say, okay, fair enough. That seems okay. You know, it's positive, and just go for it. Just do it. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to talk about the importance of keeping positive when you're applying for agencies, because it can be a bit of a scary process, in that you're going into an environment, you know, that's completely alien to you. You don't really know what to expect, and it can be a bit scary, and a bit nerve-wracking, because you don't know how it's going to go. You are putting yourself out there for people to look at these pictures and say, you know, okay, we'll have them, okay, maybe not. And that, in full honesty, that's what the situation is. But like I say, it's imperative that you remain positive and keep putting yourself out there, which is what I'll be doing. Same with the YouTube videos. Hopefully people will enjoy these videos or take something from them. That's what I hope. Hopefully people will start to, you know, watch more. Fingers crossed. And I'll say again, thank you to those people who have watched. It is really important. Hopefully they'll be watching again, and hopefully they got something from it that I'm hoping other people will. So, you know, just to anyone watching this, keep doing what you're doing. I'll see you in the next video. I'm going to end it on that. And that's what I wanted to come and talk about today. I don't know what the next video is going to be about. We'll have to wait and see for that. But thank you to anyone who watched the last video, or anyone who's watched this one. And hopefully this video has been helpful if you are interested in going into modelling, or you would in the process I am now of sending out to agencies. I will see you all in the next video, and remember, like and subscribe. It helps the channel. It would be mostly appreciated. So thank you, and see you all later.